Hello and welcome to my brand new channel called Astrology Health plus Soup to Nuts. I'm your astrologer, Lynette. I originally had planned this day planned way different than what actually unfolded as of this morning. I'm just going to do one chart. I actually have 3 charts I was going to do, and I had planned on doing it all in one reading, but that didn't happen this morning. And I will tell you the unfolding of the story because it directly relates to this health and anatomy reading. So first of all, we will start with the disclaimer. As this will be a regular thing that I will say on a daily, a daily or whatever I do a reading. So the disclaimer is this is solely and only for entertainment purposes. This is not to be used in place of professional advice or for legal, medical, medicine, business, finances, financial, health, diagnosis, treatment, or any type of personal advice. Always seek professional advice. Interpretation is solely that of the viewer only, and reader claims no responsibility. That's just a basic general disclaimer. Now, what this reading is for is this can just give you awareness of possibilities or potentials for problems and answers for you to think about and discuss with your health care provider. So doctor, nurse, medical doctor, herbal doctor, naturopath doctor, take it as it lands, whoever your health care providers are. Okay, so often I would often think, and I look at people's charts and I look at the time zones and the transits and the signs we're currently in, the ingressions that the planets are in certain signs, that would have a certain distinctive meaning for health and anatomy. So I look at it from that perspective, and lots of times I'll get questions from people. They'll say, okay, well, what does this mean, and what does this planet cover for health and anatomy? What does this sign cover for health and anatomy? So it's kind of going down that field. So often it can raise points for resolutions. People have problems and they're looking for answers, resolutions, fixes, culminations for problems. And often if there's kind of like an I don't know sort of thing, it gives us an indication or a red flag of an area or areas where we could possibly look to take to our doctor for health care reasons or help or diagnosis or treatment, right? So it's just to raise awareness and give you some ideas where you can actually look. Okay, so now that we covered that, the interesting thing this morning is I had fully intended on doing this completely different, but it just did not work out that way this morning. We are in Gemini season, and I had initially planned on launching this channel and this particular YouTube channel on the new moon in Gemini at 6 degrees. However, this morning, things kind of unfolded in a weird way. We had a very, very unfortunate accident that took place in my neighborhood, and after everybody was looked after and gone to the hospital, etc., I sat down and I thought, oh my God, this is just so, it's unfortunate it happened, but it's so true to nature, and it fits exactly what the astrology happens to be for this exact time zone. So I'll just tell you what happened. There was a good friend of mine and lived in the neighborhood, neighbor-ish, had a fall today, early this morning, and there was a broken arm or whatever, something like that. We were called upon to go help the lady in the neighborhood out, and so that took a while, and so that's kind of what happened to my plans. It kind of went a little bit sideways this morning, so I'm just going to do the best I can. So I'm just going to do one right now, new moon in Gemini chart, because that actually happens to be today. So now the unfortunate accident that happened today, I'll tell you why it's so linked and so related today in the Gemini season. Like, this is just crazy synchronicity, but unfortunate accident, etc., because it was a broken arm. And when we look at this for May 20th or May 26, 2025, on the new moon, and Gemini. So Gemini actually covers the lungs, the collarbones, the hands, the arms, the shoulders, and the nervous system. Okay, so the interesting part was, and Gemini also rules the 3rd house, and the 3rd house is a local environment, neighborhood, neighbors, people you were close to. So the weird part was how this unfolded. It was somebody within the neighborhood, the close proximity in the local environment, who actually fell, broke an arm, which happens to be just unfolded exactly, within the neighborhood, and a broken arm, which actually happens to fit exactly for what we're talking about today. So that's kind of what happened. So it kind of set me off on a little bit of a different spin today. So what I plan on doing is I'm doing this chart today, and I'll do either a longer reading with the other two charts I have printed up, or I will do 3 separate readings. And as time goes on, I'll refine the readings, and we'll see what you guys like and what works best, and make it time efficient and information efficient, not long and strung out and boring and drug out. Okay, so that's what happened today, which went a little bit sideways, but it unfortunately does make a good confirmation that the time zones, the signs, the planets involved is exactly key to what happened today, the unfortunate broken arm within the local neighborhood. Okay, so something I want to point out, and this is kind of how I wanted to introduce things a little bit as we begin this channel, is so as of, let me see, it would be our north node in Pisces and our south node in Virgo. This is known as a health axis, okay? So when we have a nodal shift, a nodal change, that happens about every 18 months. So it's fully spot on for 18 months or so. But we also lead in with that energy, and then we lead out with that energy. So technically, it's about 18 to 24 months. So, for example, January 11th, 2025, we had our north node enter the sign of Pisces. And of course, automatically the south node enters Virgo, because that's its opposing sign. They always go in opposing sets, okay? So that's the lunar nodes when they make a shift. Now, it moved in on January 11th, 2025. This particular nodal combination, north node Pisces, south node Virgo, is going to be here until July 25th, 2026. Okay. And remember, it will fade out a few months. So about 3 to 4 months, it wiggles and it works its way in. Then we're full spot on, and we're full-fledged in those two signs, and then it will fade out. And that usually is about 3 or 4 months fade out period time. So realistically, this particular health axis nodal shift, even though it happened exact January 11, 2025, it actually gave us a little taste test, and that would have started about September 17th, 2024. Now, the ironic part about this is the health axis, and so Virgo is, and I'll go into this a little more detail as time goes on. I'm just going to tell you a little story how this links in and how everything seemed to be perfectly aligned. I do know 2 Virgos that within that month of September, they both come down with weird infections. Now, Virgo is linked with infections. And so that was September 2024. So that's the lead-in time. Exact is January 11th, 2025. And the exact leaving time will be July 25th, 2026. And of course, then fading out with 3 to 4 months after the fact. Okay, so we will talk about Pisces, and we'll talk about Virgo, and we'll talk about all the areas that these would cover. Okay, so Pisces is always the low extremities, because it's the 12th sign. That's always like the feet, right? The feet area, the arches, the toes, anywhere on the upper foot, the bottom of the foot, the ball of the foot, the arch of the foot, anything to do with the feet. It's got to do with blood, immune system, lymphatic system, viruses, toxicity. So toxic fluid, toxic water. Now that can include being within the body, okay? Thymus gland. This can be linked with depression, mental illness, the spinal column areas, the pineal gland, white blood cells, and kinesthetic functions. And so I always find this interesting, because I actually do know a couple Pisces, and when I talked to this person, they were exactly in doing the kinesthetic functions, meaning therapy, and they were trying to get back mobility and repeat, rinse, repeat to get the body to be in perfect flow, like say for example walking, stepping, those kind of things. So kinesthetic means repetitive movement to get something spot on for mobility and movement. Okay, take it as it lands. Now, something else that Pisces is linked to, it's not exactly linked to health, but it can cause health issues, and that's plastic. And so, I don't know about anybody else, but you hear so much about plastics, plastic cutting boards, plastic bottles, the bad plastic particles coming out of the bottle within fluids or drinks or those kind of things, plastic straws, plastic this, plastic that. So plastic involved, that can cause problems within the body system. So whether you could be drinking from it, it could be little particles off a plastic cutting board that you're ingesting and having digestion problems, or weird things that show up because of plastic particles. So it would be plastic linked to health problems. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So sometimes we get these funky weird things that start coming on, and they come in as weird symptoms, right? So sometimes that's just an idea where that could be leading back to, or an answer, or a resolution. Okay, now Virgo, now this is the south node. So south node is always the past, north node is always the future. Okay, but it's the particular signs that they're involved with, which is where the health and the anatomy comes from. So Virgo is always about the intestines, the liver, the pancreas, the gallbladder, the lower plexus, upper bowel. It's the digestive tract, right? Digestion. It's gut health, and it's about small bacteria. And this also includes small fungus, infections, viruses, and it's about purification and detoxification. So I'm going to talk about bacteria and fungus. So where we get going with this, so it can be good bacteria, it can be bad bacteria, meaning that would be where the infection comes from. And again, just off the top of my head, it's just so weird when this was gently rolling in, just like that. I knew 2 Virgos that had the weirdest infections that set in, right? So, but also good bacteria would be like your probiotics, those types of things too. So keep that in mind. It can be good or bad. When I'm listing things, it can be both good or bad. So that can be the problem, but it could also be the answer. Okay. And so when we're talking about fungus, that will also include small funguses. So an example, there are lots of funguses that, are harmless, but there are some that are quite harmful. So something that would really stick out to me as being a problem, a problem fungus would be candida or yeast. Now that would be something linked to systemic yeast infections, local yeast infections. So that could include thrush, that could include vaginal yeast infections, that can be yeast infections on the skin, and if it's a worst case scenario, it can be a whole body candidiasis or yeast infection. So remember, an overload of anything is never good. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So small bacteria, good or bad; small fungus, good or bad; infections, viruses. And so here's something else that was really, really quite strange too, is a Pisces. I know a Pisces that ended up with a very weird lung infection. And this again, now keep in mind, this is Virgo Pisces. These are both these signs that all these folks that I know have these funky, weird things going on. Actually, I know 2 women that have weird infections, and they're both Pisces ladies, Sun Pisces. Okay, so just some examples, right? Okay, so now we know from January 11th, 2025 to July 25th, 2026, that this health axis is going to be hanging around. These particular areas that I just listed off are going to be kind of up in the ball game for the next, about year and a bit, 15 months, something like that. Okay, so we are going to go back in time. So this is something I always like to look at too. So astrology always runs in repeat cycles. So it's kind of like history repeating itself, however you want to fill in the blank with that. So that can be history repeating itself. But in this case, we're talking about health and anatomy. At those times, something would have been going on for you. But this is a different storyline for everybody. Because remember, we have solar charts. So those are general charts that could apply to everybody in a general a general status, a general consensus status, or a collective reading, if you want to call it that. And then we all have our own personal birth charts. Now that is exact to what we are natally. That will never change. When you have your birth chart, that will stay for you for this lifetime. That belongs to you, and that will be exact on the money, 100%, the information that goes with your particular natal chart. So keep that in mind, and they can both be functional, right? I mean, the general collective solar chart will still have a lot. You can get a lot of information, and you can actually add the birth chart in there, and that will add additional, more exact, precise information about yourself. Okay, so the last time we had the Pisces Virgo North Node, South Node, and the North Node Pisces and South Node Virgo would have been in June 23rd, 2006 to December 19th, 2007. So remember, it will be about 3 to 4 months prior to those exact dates, and then 3 or 4 months prior leading out. So basically, June 2006 to December 2007. And again, a little bit before, a little bit after. So think back to that time. What was going on for you in life? What was going on for you health-wise? What were you looking at? Was it diet? Was it exercise? Was it illness? Was it wellness? Was it sickness? Was it healing? Was it surgeries? What's going on for you? So it will never always be the same story. But what tends to happen is it will bring up repetitive topics or similar storylines, and it will be linked back to those particular time zones. And lots of times I've seen this happen many times over. So it's not only with you, but it can be with the generation below you, meaning it could be you, but your kids could be actually looking at similar things during those times. And it's kind of funny how that plays out too, because it does. And it actually could be the generation above. Okay. And now there is also a reverse cycle. So what I mean by that, so the North Node in Pisces currently now, the South Node in Virgo currently now, but a reverse cycle would mean the North Node would be in Virgo and the South Node would be in Pisces, and that particular time zone, it will be subject to similar things, but not exactly the same, because the nodes had shifted exact opposite signs. So that would take us back to November 13th, 2015 to May 10th, 2017. So it would be similar topics, similar storylines, similar situations, probably something similar within the health area between November 2015 and May 2017. So think back to that particular time and what was going on for you back then. Okay. So again, a different story for everybody. And again, can be generation above, a generation below. So if you have kids, it could, something similar with your kids. Okay. So think back to those times, and we will have similar subject matters, similar themes, similar storylines. Okay. Something else I want to mention. Okay, so now we have that out of the way, and I'm probably going to mention that off and on as I do my readings, because it's kind of, to me, it's a very important thing, because it tends to be the most highlighted area of health areas, health issues, health resolutions, health fixes, as time goes on till it changes into the next set. Okay, so that's going to happen again in 2026 for us. Okay, so we're not there yet. So this is something, and this is not to scare people. This is to bring awareness, and it's to give you ideas for resolutions, conclusions, resolves, answers, fixes, healing, and wellness, right? So flip it. It's meant to give you awareness so you can use it to your advantage in a positive way. Okay, so we are going to move on to something that just happened here. It's a kind of a major ingression. So we had Saturn enter into the sign of Aries, and this would have happened May 24th, 2025, so just a couple days ago. Now, Saturn will be here for about 2.5 to 3 years-ish. So again, it's like any other ingression, leading in, leading out. So you'll feel it a little bit wiggling before it hits the exact date. Then you will have the time zone of exact Saturn in Aries, and then it will shift into a different sign, but you will still have the ripple effect, fading out. Okay. So when Saturn in Aries, this is kind of a really interesting combination, because Saturn is usually of old age. It's old, it's wise, it's got wisdom, it's got knowledge. Aries is the baby of the zodiac. So it's young and it's enthusiastic and it's a go-getter. It likes to jump before it thinks. So essentially, it's almost like mixing a senior citizens with a kindergarten child, okay? But there's good things that can come from that. They're almost opposing signs, opposing energies, right? But it can work. So meaning that it would be like, the kindergarten child that can re-energize the old person. But it can also be the old person telling that kindergarten child, to stop and think before you do something stupid. Stop and think before you jump. Think of your consequences down the road. You want to build solid foundations. You want to have structure. You want to have routine. You want to have responsibility. You want to have discipline, right? And so it's those kind of things. Now, the couple things that come out of this, just very kind of short term and this kind of just blazing over the top, is burns to the head and face. Okay. And so Aries is always about, the head, interior, exterior, and that can be head traumas, right? So anywhere around the head, the face areas, the brain, the upper teeth. Okay, that's usually what Aries covers. So that would be, and because Aries is fire, that's burns to the head, burns to the face, burns to the body, the physical body, anywhere. That can be water burns, that can be fire burns, that can be steam burns. And the other thing that you can actually end up having a problem with is being burnt out or having burnout. So working too hard, not enough rest time. So just be mindful of that. And the other thing I will mention about the Saturn in Aries is this can also cover areas of the knees, the lower legs. It can cover the bones, the skeletal system, bone structure, again, the teeth as a whole, upper and lower, ligaments, and parathyroid gland, and gallbladder, and auditory organs like the ears. Okay, so that's something that can be covered by Saturn in Aries. So it can be any of that combination of any of it, right? So just keep that in mind. And something that always comes up for Saturn is always like the bones, the bone structures, the knees, the ligaments, and the lower legs in particular for that. So again, it's like mixing bones with fire, any sort of ligaments with fire. And be careful for head injuries, injuries to the face, injuries to the brain, traumas to the brain, traumas to the face, and traumas to the teeth, like getting your teeth knocked out kind of thing. Or, like, for example, if you hit your teeth on the steering wheel or something like that. Okay, so it's very head oriented, very face oriented. That can also, where else can that touch? I think that will probably be, that's all I want to say about that. And something else that I always think is really neat, and I always like to mention this to my clients too, is because Saturn is known, and so was Mars. Saturn and Mars are known as the malefic planets. They kind of don't piss around much. They mean business, and they cover serious areas of life. I mean, Mars is our god of war. It means business, right? Saturn is, it's always very restrictive, and it's very structured, and it's about routine, and it's about hard work. It's kind of the fun police, the wet blanket. It's the task manager. It's about structure. It's about time, physical time. Time matters. Time is of the essence. Be on time. Always be on time. Have a strong, solid foundation. It's kind of the work. It is. It rules Capricorn, and Capricorn is basically known as the workhorse sign of the zodiac. So just keep that in mind. So that's when I say they're hard planets, right? And they kind of mean business, and they always cover the more serious areas of life, okay? So when we have a Saturn ingression going on, so when Saturn is leaving one sign, moving into the next sign, I always think this is just really cool. So it always offers gifts and rewards, answers, resolves, resolutions, culminations, fixes, healing, those kind of things. Saturn is also the Lord of Karma, right? So when it leaves a sign, as long as you've done your work, you've taken your responsibility, you've done your due diligence, and you were structured, and you were very responsible, and you were very well disciplined, and you put the hard work in, you put the time in, those kind of things. Saturn always offers gifts and rewards within 1 to 6 months after leaving a sign. So here's the cool thing. So because on May 24th, it left Pisces and it entered into Aries. Okay, so now for the next 6 months ahead, so that will take us to, let me see, we'll just round it off of June. So that will basically take us up until December. So from basically June, so about November, December, somewhere in that neighborhood. So about November, beginning of December. It was going to offer gifts and rewards, karmic rewards, rewards for hard work done. And so again, that can be answers to health problems, health issues. I know actually for myself, I was having some kind of weird things going on there when it moved into Pisces, and lo and behold, within about that 3 month time after it left a sign and moved into the next sign, it did offer me some really, really good answers and resolutions. So that, like myself, for that particular thing I was looking at for myself, I'm a self-study, and I thought, oh, bingo, the light went off. Or, I was listening to a YouTube channel, somebody talking about something similar, and I'm thinking, okay, you know what, that's it, right? So those kind of things. Or it can give you ideas to go talk to your doctor, your nurse, your medical doctor, your naturopath doctor, your practitioner, whoever it is, or those kind of, or a helper, anything to do, or it could be a friend, have you heard of this, or have you ever tried this? And sometimes things work for people and sometimes they don't. But the point is, it offers rewards for fixing, healing, wellness, answers, resolutions, conclusions to things. And that's the beauty thing about Saturn, but you have to do your work. Now, on the flip side, if you didn't do nothing, you didn't do anything about it, you didn't take responsibility, you are not well disciplined, you do not do your work, what happens, it will magnify that problem over time. So it will get your attention, and at some point in time, you will be forced to look at it, okay? So that's the cool thing about that. So now I'm going to go back in cycles too. So Saturn in Aries. Okay, so the last time Saturn, so I'm going to tell you first of all, Saturn has anywhere from about a 28 to a 30-year orbit cycle. So it takes about 28 to 30 years for it to ever go back to the same sign. So because it moved into Aries May 24th, which was just a few days ago, 2025, the last time Saturn was in Aries was April 8th, 1996 to June 10th, 1998. So go back to that time zone and what was going on for you. Okay, so that can link to, like I said, the Saturn areas of health, right? As well as the Aries. So for example, if we go back to April 8th, 1996 to June 10th, 1998, this could involve something with, the head, the face, the brain, the upper teeth. It can have to do with the interior of the head, the exterior of the head, interior, or the exterior of the face, anywhere. But it can also have to do with like your skin, bones, skeletal system, bone structure, teeth, upper, lower, ligaments, knees. It can be ears, but more prominent is the left ear. Auditory organs, so that could be hearing aids or having hearing trouble. Gallbladder, you might have had gallbladder problems, but you also might have found the fix. So when I list all these things, it doesn't mean, oh my God, I'm going to have problems. It could mean maybe I'm having problems, but I find the resolution, the healing way, or the fix for it. Or you're coming down with something and you're just maybe not quite sure what the hell's going on. This can give you an idea where to look and what to look at and go talk to your doctor about. So the parathyroid gland and body protein. So back in that time zone, it would link up with these particular combinations and what was going on for you. Again, that's quite a while ago. So we're talking 28 to 30 years ago. Some of you won't even be old enough to know that, but some of us will. And so think back to that time. And so that can actually mean, and that can actually include muscles too. So, that could mean maybe, you did something different with your face. You may have had, maybe some sort of surgery done to your teeth, or you might have had dentures. You might have had teeth problems. You might have had your teeth fixed. You could have had something to do with, like again, your hearing, hearing aids, those kind of things. You might have had gallbladder problems and realized, that pain under the right rib, that actually was a gallbladder. But at that time, I didn't realize what that was till after the fact. And it could be something like that, or it could be, something to do with knees. It could be something to do with, getting in shape, those kind of things, right? You could have been doing something with your skin, skin improvement. You might have had acne and you found a resolution for it, or you might have had come down with acne and now we need to find a resolution with it. You might have had a parathyroid gland problem, those, or, deficiencies or something like that. So anyway, those kind of things. So that goes back to that time zone. So the previous time zone was April 8th, 1996 to June 10th, 1998. So that's always interesting how that always plays out. And it doesn't matter how you twist it or turn it, it works. You think back in cycles, and again, we all have our own specialty stories. Okay, so now how I decided to do the health and anatomy is I work with the health houses. So house 1 is a health house. House 6 is a health house. And house 8 is also a health house, but there's a few other things we can add in there. So we have, and I'm going to kind of lead in, and I'm going to cover the chakra systems too, because they tend to add a few more things, but they tend to repeat information over and over. So instead of saying, well, I heard that, which that's true, I might talk about it 2 or 3 times, but it also is the triple confirmation. So we know we're on the right path, right? So when I was taking my astrology, I always had a couple instructors. I've taken a few, and they always said often it's a rules of 3. So if it keeps on repeating itself once, twice, 3, 4 times, that's a firm confirmation that this is going to be in the area of either healing, illness, or wellness. Okay, so it's a topic it's going to be concreted into that time zone. This is where we need to look. Okay, so I do like to read clusters. So this was another instructor I had, all great instructors, right? Great teachers. And so she would always teach me about clusters. And so that really resonated well with me. So when I show you this particular chart, you'll notice that we have house 4 and house 7 lit up. So that means there's a hell of a lot of activity going on there. Now, house 4 and house 7 are not health houses, but there's specific focus there. And so what do they have in common? Well, house 4, that is our family history. Okay, so we will start there because we have, and I have my little sheets here just to make sure I don't miss anything. So we have house 4. And again, so that's known as the IC. Now that's the bottom of the chart, and that's kind of like the unseen area. That is like the midnight time zone. The time zone really hasn't got nothing to do with it. I'm just telling that because that's kind of part of the practice. But anyway, the 4th house and the 4th house cusp is an important angle. So anytime we have an angle, so that's, the 1st house cusp, the 4th house cusp, the 7th house cusp, and the 10th house cusp. Those are important angles. So if we say, for example, we didn't have too much going on in house 1, 6, or 8, I would say, okay, well, let's go have a look at the angles and see what's going on there. Now, the other important thing about the house 4, it's a water house. It's a psychology house. Okay. It's also the house, more so it's got to do with family history, ancestry, genes, genetics, okay? And it's got to do with emotions, emotional state. It's got to do with family health, family bloodlines, genealogy, family tree, okay? And the ancestry, again, psychology, the psychology part of the person, who we are, why we do things, why we're motivated to do things, why we're motivated to not do things, those kind of things. And it also covers areas of fear and being afraid. Now, what's that got to do with health? Well, it's got lots, because fear and being afraid brings on stress, and stress affects the body in the ways of health. Family lineage and the subconscious house, right? And it's also the physical body foundation. So this is where your physical body, you originate from, your family, your parents, your roots, your genetics, your family history, your family medical history. And some of you out there might be say adopted, those kind of things, because let's get real. That happens every day. That's not a new story. So for example, if you were an adopted child or those kind of things, and you have things going on, like these things will always link back to your past, your family history, your lineage. You might want to do genetic testing, look through family history, ancestry, and specifically genealogy and family tree. Okay. So that is basically, it boils down to the roots of the problem, the roots of my family, the roots of my genetics, the roots of what's going on. And I always had one instructor say, at the bottom, it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's, with health and anatomy, whether it's job, career, you always want to make sure that your foundation at the bottom of the chart is strong enough to hold the top of the chart where you're going in this life. And that always made a whole lot of sense to me. If you don't have a strong health foundation, you don't have a goddamn thing by the time you get up in years where you're working on the top of your chart. Okay. So those are some areas. And so the one thing that really did stick out here to me is we're actually sitting on this particular chart, the new moon in Gemini. We have a 29-degree Pisces, 4th house cusp. Now, what's the big deal? Well, the big deal is this. The 29th degree is always the anaretic degree. It's a high impact, high focus, a very, very charged degree in any sign. It doesn't matter what sign it's in. If it's sitting at the 29th degree, it's very active, and often it plays out in the negative value first. So that would mean this particular thing, we would have a problem with a bone structure. We would have problems with teeth. We would have problems with knees. We would have problems with ligaments. Saturn can also link to the males in our life. So it might be dad. It could be your boss. I don't know. It's not, it's those kind of things. And so it's always interesting that that plays out. So, and so, for example, let's just use bones and the skeletal thing. And because it's tied to the family lineage, the family roots, the family foundations, family history, if we use bones, for example, that could be something linking back with the bones or the skeleton, and the quality linking back to osteoporosis, because we have a family history of it, right? If you have sore bones, you have achy bones, that might be the place to look. So it always, whatever is up against that fourth house cusp is going to be kind of the stepping stone, the starting stepping stone where you want to look for family history of something or other. Okay. And again, that could also fall with depression. So that's a different, I'm going to go into that just in a few. I'm just going to have another look at Capricorn and Saturn. So yeah, so here's the thing, when it's up against that, so that could be, teeth, family history of poor teeth, poor bone structure, poor bone quality. It could be family history or lineage or, genetic things wrong with the skin. My family comes from weak ligaments or weak knees, or my family has hearing problems, those kind of things, auditory organ problems. It could be linked to family tree, genetics, those kind of thing, or, genetic family history. And again, I'm going to point out here too, is you could be looking at something to do with a family history of parathyroid gland issues. Now that could be a problem, but that might be the place to look for the fix. So when I say, when I list these things off, again, that could be potential problem that, the light bulb goes off and, that does happen or run in my family, or that could be the problem, or like, right, that's the fix. That's what I need to go do to fix, repair, mend, heal, whatever issue we have. So that works both ways. Just remember that. Something else I'm going to mention, when we have this particular 29th degree at Pisces on the fourth house cusp, we have Neptune butting up against that. So that's within like a 2-degree orb. That's a tight orb. And when I say orb, it means a zone, an energy field that becomes very, very highly charged or kind of electrified. It's very influential to both points or planets involved. They charge each other, which is attention getting. Okay. So when I see Neptune conjuncting that fourth house cusp, this would be something else I would probably really take a close look at. Because Neptune is always related to the mind, the mental status. Okay, so again, that could be family history of mental illness. Now, this is not going to be for it. This might be maybe for 1% or something, but this is the possibilities that come out of this. Okay, so it could be viruses, it could be mental health, mental illness, imbalances, mental imbalances, depression. Nerve problems. It's got to do with feet, pineal gland, and again, white blood cells. Those kind of things, pineal gland linked, and to do with feet. So say bunions or corns on the feet, that could be something else, right? When we talk about Pisces and Neptune, that's at the very end of the spectrum. So when I look at the anatomy, and I just found a book, actually that's not true. This book is really, really old. I just dug it out again. So it's kind of like the old book, but the new findings, like I forgot I had it. So when you look through the zodiac, and I've had people ask me this, they say, well, like, how the hell do you know what part corresponds with a part of the body? Well, the easy answer is this. When you start at the top of the head is Aries, okay, ruled by Mars. And then you follow through the body parts, and there's a list of body parts through from head down to toes that belongs to each planet, that belongs to each sign. But so when you get to the very 12th sign, which is Pisces, that's always, always, always linked to the feet. So it could be, lower ankle, it could be heels, it could be arch of the foot, it could be the top of the foot, it could be the toes, in between the toes, the ball of the foot, arch of the foot, anything worth their feet. So it can be, and it doesn't mean you have bad feet. You could actually have really good feet, but you could have problems within your feet. So for another example, like a Leo, that's an upper back and a heart. So it could mean you have a very strong upper back and a very strong heart, or it could mean you can have heart problems or back problems. So again, just because it's listed, it runs at 50-50 spin of the meaning, right? And of course, that would depend on the aspects going on in your chart. Okay, so anyway, the fourth house again is about, family history, lineage, genetics, genealogy, family trees, those kind of things. So apply that accordingly if it does at all. And so when we go to house 7, and that is not a health house, but we have a whole lot of Gemini sitting in it. We have actually 4 planets sitting in Gemini. The house cusp is on Gemini. That's the descendant. So we have 1.4 planets. That's a big thing. Okay, we have a huge cluster in 7. So that also means that we, again, so we are like Gemini, 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 crazy all over this chart, right? So we have a Sagittarius. Okay, so that's our ascendant. And because, of course, this is the new moon, and we have Gemini sitting on the descendant. So they're opposing, and the Jupiter rules Sagittarius and Mercury rules Gemini. So again, Jupiter also is going to be on the list of stuff here going on too, right? Okay, so when we go back to Gemini, let's have a look here. Again, so when we go to Gemini, so this is like Gemini, more like quadruple enhanced. So again, lungs, collarbone, hands, arms, shoulders, and nervous system. Gemini is ruled by Mercury. So again, that can be the brain, that can be the eyes, the sight, the mouth, the tongue, the respiratory system. I mean, that's full respiratory system, in through the nose, down through the throat, a voice box, vocal cords, breathing in into the lungs, the lung tissue, those kind of things. Hands, arms, thyroid, and mind. Okay, so that's all within that. So we know that those areas are all going to be highlighted. Now, what's it got to do with the 7th house? Well, the 7th house has got to do with practitioners. It's got to do with people you're involved with. And it's got to do with relationships. So this particular thing is going to have to do with practitioner, doctors, or, your relationship with your doctor, your nurse, your healthcare provider. So that would be communication with amongst this sort of area. So chances are you're probably corresponding, or you might be learning, looking, researching about what's going on with your body in these areas. Chances are there's a very good chance this is what's going on with you. So those kind of areas, right? And so, let's see. And also when I look at the ascendant of Sagittarius, this will also include the Jupiter areas, because Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius. So this is also going to include, now this tends to be like an opposition point. So this is going to be problematic probably. So it's the liver, thighs, hips, ears, right ear in particular, and pancreas. So there's a little bit of conflict. There's a little bit of trouble there, a little bit of problem going on with those areas, right? Hips, thighs, upper legs. Okay. So for example, I know somebody who just went in for a hip replacement. So again, that's a good example. We had a problem with a hip. We went in for a surgery. So it's a hip replacement, a hip repair, a hip fix, and we're on recovery mode. Okay. So that's a good example when I list all those things off. Okay. Okay, so that's the chart ruler. Okay, so now in house 1, again, so house 1, I'm just going to do a brief overview of the house. So the house 1 is a health house, and that's about the physical body, physical health. It's about, weight loss, weight gain, illness, wellness, healing, body image, physical body appearance. So that's, it's the health house about the physical body essentially. Okay. And so other than the ascendant and it's opposing, a few things going on in the 7th house, that's going to give us a little problem in the areas I just listed. So we won't go over that again. The 6th house, that is another health house. Okay. And so the 6th house is all about, it's a health focus. So when I look at people's charts and I say, oh, you know what, you have a health chart, they go, oh, what do you mean? Is that bad? And I'm like, no, not at all. A health house would just, it could mean, yes, that's potentially a problem. You could have health problems or looking at health issues, but that's not always the case. It could be like a health focus. You are a health buff. You are a health nut. You're very conscientious about your health, your physical body, your exercise, your diet, your routine, your daily routines could be supplements, could be whatever, exercise routine, etc. You're a health nut, right? I have a health house. A health chart in my birth chart. And that's me. Particularly sick, no, but am I health and health oriented, very health focused? Absolutely. So the house 6 is about health focus, plus or minus, right? It's good or bad. And we all live different lives, and it means something different for all of us. So healing, wellness, daily routine, daily regimens, daily plans. And something else, this can also include your pet health, and this can also be pet therapy. Pets are really good for reducing stress and pet therapy. Pets also get you out for a walk, right? So diet, exercise, fitness, self-care, and health details. Okay, so that's a very big health house. And the next health house is the 8th house. So the 8th house is just a ginormous health house. And it essentially is, it's a hidden house. It's a water house. It's a psychology house, right? It's about emotions, hidden emotions. And it's the house of surgeries, okay? Hidden procedures. The hidden house of secrets. Say, for example, if you had plastic surgery, but it was a secret surgery and nobody ever knew about it. It's also the house of abortions. It's also about miscarriage, those kind of things. Health procedures done, but nobody knows about. They're hidden, they're secret. Buried health conditions, right? It's also the house of death. Perception of death, and I'll say sex and intimacy too, because that can be very much health linked as well, right? Psychology, we all have that psychology house, our motivations, why we do things, why we don't do things, those fears, those deep down fears that are there that we might not know why. And again, it can be a house of obsession, jealousy, power, control. Now, why would I mention that in health? Because depending on, it's a problem for both. If there's two parties involved, it's a problem for both. One who's doing the controlling, the jealousy, but the other one suffering the consequences because of it. And that can certainly take a health toll, okay? And again, it's also about being, being self-authentic, true to self, being, facing reality and giving self-reality checks for being truly authentic to yourself, okay? And also, this can also involve esoteric or occult health help or areas as well. Now, something else I will mention, and I forgot to mention, I'm glad I see this on my notes, is night terrors. Okay, so this is something I do see showing up here. Now, where would I get this from? Well, I get this from anytime you see Mars in a water house, there is high potential for nightmares and night terrors. So this particular new moon in Gemini, which is May 26th, which is today, at 6 degrees, we actually have Mars sitting in Leo. It's in a fire sign, so it's kind of an aggressive sign with aggressive planet, and it's sitting in the 8th house. So when you see that, there is always potential for night terror. So that Mars right now is in the 8th house, but anytime you see a Mars sitting in a 4th house or a 12th house, there is always high potential for night terrors going on. So that will definitely be for some of you guys out there, because that does happen. I actually have a friend whose husband who has night terrors, and I've actually heard of that before. But often that will show up in the chart, and that will ring true, okay? Okay, so something else we have going on here, and I found this mighty interesting because this is something else I have exact to the degree in my chart. And after looking at it, reading it, studying it, understanding it, it's like, holy crap, that's right, bang on. So we have Algol. It's a fixed star. It's at 25 degrees Taurus. It's a fixed star, which means it just hangs at 25 degrees. So Algol is known as the Medusa's head, off with the head. It can be focused around the head. It is linked with bad teeth, alcohol problems, alcoholism. And it can be with, it's actually the death and wealth star. So it includes physical death, okay? And it's also linked with, not bad luck, but troubles and obstacles, okay? So it's, you could have teeth problems, you get trouble with teeth, those kind of things. So when I see this 6th house is very, very busy with these two involved. Normally, you would only take the conjunctions with Algol, but there's some strange things that show up here with that too. Anyway, the 6th house is very, very busy. Now, why would I say this? Okay, so when I see this, it's butting up against Uranus. So Uranus is shock, surprise, unexpected, out of the blue, those kind of things. And when it's mixing in a health house, it's like unexpected health issues. It could be unexpected physical death. Now, don't get bent out of shape when I say that, because that will only be for maybe 1% of you, that physical death. But you could be looking at unexpected teeth problems, unexpected denture problems, unexpected, accidents with the head. It can be alcoholism related problems. But it's all linked up with unexpected health issues. So when you have that, it's kind of a weird combination, or you can end up with unexpected or surprise health obstacles, troubles, blockages, those kind of things. So take it as a line. It's very strong, sitting here, because it's exact degree, which means that's going to wiggle probably everybody's chart to some degree. So you might be having troubles or difficulties with, a health focus. You might be having a problem healing or with wellness. And a big thing here is you might be having difficulties and troubles with daily routines, daily regimens, daily plans, those kind of things. Or you might be having unexpected things going on with, the health of a pet, or those kind of things as well. Or, you might be having problems or obstacles, being able to fulfill your daily or your everyday or every couple of days exercise or fitness routine, those types of things. Okay. Problems with self-care. Okay. But again, it can be problems with teeth, dentures, those kind of things. And it's also showing up here. Yeah, we could be having unexpected surgeries with traumas and bleeding, those kind of things. So when I see this this particular angle going on, it's unexpected shock or surprise problems or unexpected surgeries going on in the 8th house. It could be unexpected procedures that are linked to surgeries. It could be bleeding during surgeries, or it could be accidents that have bleeding that lead to a trauma, that the trauma leads to a surgery. Sitting in the surgery house, that's a fairly serious combination, that particular one right there. Yeah, so that one, and it's something else we could be looking at is unexpected things going on with mom or grandmom, right? And this can be unexpected things with breast tissue, stomach, digestion, imbalances in fluid, those types of things as well. And it can be unexpected things going on with emotional health. Okay, there's that too. And again, this keeps on lighting it up. And if it's not you, it could be somebody you're involved with. When I say this, it's unexpected things going on. It could be you, but there's a very high chance it's somebody in your life. So if it's not you, it could be your husband. If you're the husband, if it's not you, it could be your wife. Unexpected communication or unexpected travel, those kind of things going on. Unexpected travel to go see a physician, unexpected travel to go see a surgeon, unexpected travel to go talk to a practitioner, or maybe you're finding a helper, those kind of things. This can also be to do with the ankles too. So you could be having unexpected things going on with your ankle area, or you could be having nerve impulse problems, like the connection is not making good connections over the nerve fibers. Maybe you're not feeling things how they should be. The nerves are not acting appropriately, or responding appropriately. That could be another scenario here. Again, very involved with whoever you're involved with, like your person, your partner, your husband, your wife, those kind of things. And again, it's unexpected surgeries or traumas going up, unexpected accidents. When you see Mars in a square, that's usually can be, and with Uranus, that's like unexpected accidents, unexpected traumas. That can be bleeding, it can be hemorrhaging, but it's trauma, and because it's 8th house, it's probably unexpected surgeries. And in one case, well, and in one case, or like a lower percentage case, this could be miscarriage, okay, or stillbirth. That's possible too, because the 8th house is the house of death. I'm just going to have another peek at that in case I'm missing something. Yeah, those kind of things. Or you might be finding out about, hidden procedures. So this wouldn't be about you, but you might be finding out about a hidden health procedure or something that went on with somebody that you know. Again, this could possibly link to finding out somebody had an abortion years ago, those types of things, or somebody's adopted, or somebody had a miscarriage or a stillbirth, those kind of things. It might not be present, it can be past. Anyway, the 8th house is a very, very, a very large house, and it covers a lot. And again, here we could be finding solutions to those problems too, unexpected surprise solutions, right? There's some really good things, and it can be linked to diet, those kind of things. And it could be maybe mom or dad helping you. It could be, the fix is health, diet, routines, those types of things. And something else that shows up here is unexpected things going on with the body. So again, this can be something to do with unexpected things going on with the feet or the ankles, those kind of things. Unexpected things. You know what? Again, you might be having problems with daily routine. Every day that goes on, there might be something coming up. And that daily routine, that daily activity, that planned exercise day, whatever, you're having trouble with. It's like you're being pulled two different directions, and one gives way and the other one has to just sit idle. The lack of follow through, maybe something like that. But there is opportunity to fix. Actually, there is quite a bit of opportunity to fix, and that's going to be coming. Again, that could be something to do with your dad, your mom or your dad. And again, looking into the past for the answers. Okay, so that will take care of house 6. And again, when we start mixing Algol in with Uranus in a health house, again, that can be unexpected problems or things with your daily health routine. And again, that can actually cover your pet health as well too. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so we will move on. Oh, here we go. Yeah, I think we covered that. And again, this can be very, very highly focused or highly influential in first of all, a negative way, because we're sitting at that 29th degree in the 4th house cusp. Okay. Now, we're going to have, and again, I'm just kind of covering the moon. The moon is to do with health conditions, right? And the moon has got to do with our emotions. It's got to do with mom, those kind of things. Again, it's got to do with that particular area has got to do with, again, so when we follow the moon, health conditions can do with mom. It can be a combination of health conditions with mom, or it can just be you might be a mom and it's your health conditions, or if it's not mom, it can just be the health conditions involved or the areas or anatomy involved. So breast, stomach, fluid balance, digestion, glandular secretions, left eye of the male, right eye of the female. Again, and upper lobes of the liver. So keep that in mind. And again, this is going to be probably this very much could be a couple involved, a partnership involved, marriage, or again, having to deal with somebody who is a helper, or who, a relationship with your doctor, your nurse, your practitioner, whoever would be helping with you as a healthcare provider. And again, this can be unexpected problems, but it could be unexpected solutions as well. So it might be that, we have a problem with digestion, but the answer to that problem is your food. You got to change your diet. You got to change your exercise, right? Something simple. Because it's in the 6th house, and that's diet and health, health focus and exercise, those kind of things, right? And this one here, this could be also cover not only, like I said, the moon areas. It could be health condition of the heart. It could be health condition of the upper back. And you know what? Looking at your health and your state of vitality. And something else that kind of looks... Again, so we could be looking at, this is very female oriented. When you see the moon, it's always mom, it's female, or it's the women in the life. So this is very, very directed as women, at women. But I mean, it's not the end all be all. It can certainly involve men. But this has got to do with the the hips, thighs, and upper legs. So for example, if you're a female, because moon represents a female as does Venus, you could be looking at hip problems, hip surgeries, hip replacements. You could be having problems with your thighs, thigh muscles, or upper legs. It could be like a broken upper leg, those kind of things. But it's very female oriented. I mean, it's not always 100% female, but this is very female oriented because the moon is very highlighted, and the moon is always about female. And this could be a successful surgery that fixes something. Again, this could also involve a good change. It would be like a good lifestyle change. And, a good lifestyle change and a different outlook. This could actually be becoming because you have changed your value or value systems, okay? And again, I've covered the 4th house. And so this video ended up being a lot longer than what I thought for the first one, but that's okay. There's a lot of information. So this particular chakra chart, I thought I would try this too, and we'll see how this goes. Again, it's a confirmation of what I just finished saying. So this particular chart fits this particular graph. We'll call it a graph because that's what it is. So what we have here, when I put all the planets into the chakra chart, it's showing up as the throat chakra being highlighted and the solar plexus chakra being highlighted. Okay, so what does that mean? That means the area that these chakras, they have most impact because all the signs they're associated with, we have a lot of planets sitting in those particular chakra zones, which makes them very, very highlighted. Okay, so what does this mean? When we have this sitting here, that means that, again, this will give you a couple more new things, but it's basically giving us a third time confirmation going over that these areas are very important and should be looked at for potential problems to talk with your doctor and potential fixes, healing, or resolutions to talk about with your doctor, okay? So the throat chakra, this would involve Virgo and Gemini, okay, and the planet Mercury. Okay. Yes, okay. So the thyroid gland, the parathyroid gland, the neck, the shoulders, the arms, and the hands. So the potential problems can be an inability to express. So this can be communication problems, expression problems. Maybe you just don't talk, so that could be a problem. Blocked creativity, a sore throat, stiff shoulders, a tight neck, having colds all the time, thyroid problems, and hearing problems, okay? And so the throat chakra, the sense that goes off that is hearing. And the stones or the crystals or gemstones that go with the throat chakra is turquoise. The planet is Mercury. And the animal or animals that is linked with the throat chakra is the bull and the elephant. Okay, so that is another confirmation, adds a few more things that, points of interest, something to think about, something to maybe read about or investigate or research. The next one is the solar plexus chakra. Now, this is involved with Mars, and it's involved with Aries and Scorpio. Okay, so this is to do with the pancreas, the adrenal glands, the digestive system, and the muscles. Okay, so potential problems can be ulcers, diabetes, hypoglycemia, chronic fatigue, weight around the middle, excessive control and rage, low energy, being timid, submissive, or cowardly. Now, the planet is Mars, okay? The stones are amber and topaz, and the animals are ram or lion. And the sense is sight. Okay, so the solar plexus is often our energy zone. We either have energy or we don't. It's kind of our fire. It's our productivity. It's our creativity. It's our go-getter, our energy field, right? And when this becomes blocked, this is kind of what can happen. It's in these areas. So the pancreas, adrenal glands, digestive system, and muscles. Okay, so that's always interesting what shows up there. Okay, and I think that pretty much covers what I wanted to talk to, but we'll have a look. And again, when you're looking at a chart, a birth chart, it can even be very accurate with a solar chart. That's just a general collective chart where you have whatever sign you're talking about sitting on the 0 degree on the ascendant, okay? So house 1, 6, and 8. And also, I would like to mention too, often I will watch house 4, 8 and 12 because they're hidden water houses, emotional houses, subconscious houses, psychology houses. Okay, so it's very, very involved in those areas as well. So I hope I give you enough information, something to think about, something to meander around, something to research, something to think about, maybe even something to talk to your healthcare provider about. So that being said, we will end our reading right now. And again, that was the new moon in Gemini for May 26, 2025. And again, I apologize. I had planned on things being a little bit different, but then like I said, we had that unfortunate accident this morning with a broken arm, with a friend that lives reasonably, in the neighborhood reasonably close. And so again, that just really confirms this time zone, like all over again with Gemini. And Gemini ruling the third house of being in the local environment. Like, how crazy is that, right? Okay, and other than that, I will sign off, and hopefully that gives you some food for thought. And if you like the reading, click like, share, subscribe. It doesn't cost nothing to subscribe, and we'll just see how it goes. I plan on doing 2 more charts with this. I will be doing a Sun in Gemini, and what else will I be doing? Sun in Gemini. And I will be doing another chart for 0 to 15 degrees, the new moon, and another chart. So anyway, I planned on doing it in 1, but they're probably going to end up being 3 just because of what happened this morning. I had planned to launch on the new moon, which is always a good thing, new projects, new ideas on the new moon. Anyway, we will work on that, and we will adjust accordingly as time goes on. So again, if you like, click like, share, subscribe. And if you're interested, you can join me on my astrology face group, my astrology face group on Facebook. So it's called Midnight Bisou, C'est la vie, Jump into the Rhythm Astrology. Okay. So a Midnight Bisou, C'est la vie astrology, jump into its rhythm. And I also have a tarot group as well, and it's called Midnight Bisou Tarot, and that's on Facebook as a Facebook group as well. So if you care to join me, you want to join me, come on over, and you will have to ask to join. Normally it was a public group at one time, but I unfortunately had somebody or a couple of people trying to post pornography links on there, so I had to make it a ask to join group just to prevent that from happening. So if you're wondering why you have to ask to join, that's why. Some meatheads out there doing that, just being annoying. Our internet trolls, right? Okay, so that being said, a happy new moon in Gemini. And again, that's at 6 degrees. Be sure to put out your new moon intentions. And there is something I want to sign off with. I thought I'll either do a oracle card, a tarot card, or a Sabian symbol. And today we're going to do an oracle card. Okay. And this particular card is this. And so it says class, knowing what to say, when to say it, and when to stop. That's having class. So just something to think about. And that's another good intention and another good message for our new moon in Gemini at 6 degrees. So until we talk again, stay happy, stay healthy, take care of yourself, and take care of each other. Bye for now.